I'm wondering how you, Pavel, see the growing possibilities as an agile coach with ambitions to become both smarter and wiser and more popular and likable, but most of all, also growing in a professional career within your company. And I can accept if you want to be not specific with the company, but do it a more general. You take so. How do you see possibilities as an agile coach to grow?
All right, one angle to take is, there's already some preconceptions out there in the market how you should do it. And following those preconceptions is one way of doing it. So the preconception I'm talking about is Scrum Master Agile Coach, Enterprise Agile Coach.
Yes.
I remember there was a very good article from Liberators about why Scrum Master is an Agile Coach or why there is no difference. And again, as always, it's super funny to read about a myth like this.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't matter what community thinks, it's already what market thinks about it somewhere out there. And the community can say Scrum Master is an Agile coach, and the market already decided. Scrum Master's compensation is here, Agile coach here, Enterprise Agile coach here. You choose how much do you want to earn and do you want to follow the career path and so on. So that's one angle. You can just check what does it mean to be a Scrum Master, to be an Agile coach, to be an Enterprise Agile coach. There will be some obvious stuff like you should be working with higher and higher in the hierarchy of the company. You should be able to coach executives. If you really want to be enterprise agile coach, you probably should spend less and less time with teams because that takes your time, and you should spend this time, not focusing on a individual and team. You should spend time looking at team of teams, and how to help them. So one angle of answering this is check how market understands career progression of agile professional and play along.
All right, interesting.
Somehow that's also a bit cynical answer, isn't it?
Yes, but very practical, I think. Yes.
If you feel that it's internally coherent for you to just play along, then why not? I bet if you can make that work for yourself, then why not? Another thing is, how do you actually grow as a professional in terms of there were a few attempts at looking at what Agile Coach is doing, and then growing in those areas of what Agile Coach should be doing. And I'm talking about there was this the older model, the X-Wing model.
Yeah, the coaching of teams of Liza.
Yeah.
This one.
Then there was the Agile Coaching Growth Wheel, another model.
Yes. Leadership.
I remember I did a meetup about the octopus model of Agile Coach because it's very similar in some ways. There are things that you can be looking at and figuring out what is the next step. I think the very nice aspect of the Agile Coach Growth Wheel is that they've spent some time figuring out maturity level of each skill. You have coaching skill, facilitation skill, guided learning skill, and they provided some steps that you should be taking in order to grow. I'm not a huge fan of maturity models because exactly they propose you like that's how you next step, and very often it's not linear. You don't move only in that direction. You can jump between levels, you can select from them, and so on. And at the same time, it's out there, it's free. You can just check there are some descriptions. A lot of it is how community understands what you should be doing, and yeah, you can't go wrong with that.
I also see this being going hand in hand with the industry's understanding of the maturity model, that you're extending your capabilities and competences, and then you can move to the next level of team coach, team coach, and agile enterprise
Yeah,
coach, right?
yeah.
Looking at that part. But I've also believe that once you want to be an enterprise coach, you tend to focus on more leadership, more strategy, and that's something different than a lot of um, the other parts of coaching is about of the competence area. How do you
Yeah.
see that? Is there a difference between being a coach, being a team of team coach, or being an enterprise coach?
I think what changes is the focus in a sense. How much is given to you already to work with. So when you are in a team, you can probably go to a daily and you'll be surprised. I'm always surprised how much I can see in 15 minutes, how many dysfunctions or how many things that don't work, how many things are super specific to this team, to how people talk to each other, how they interact on some work. And that's already feeding a lot of improvement possibilities, let's call them
Mm,
that way. Like
yeah.
you can go to a 15-minute meeting and produce for yourself a backlog of work for next year. And to some extent, this is like the team is giving you this. And what changes in my head as you move into the Agile Coach, Enterprise Agile Coach, is that there won't be that much clear um, things for you to work with. In a sense, you can go to different stakeholders and they will have very different problems. And a lot of it, like what do you want to do with it, is in the coach's head. Like you need to prioritize, you need to figure out what is it that you want to work with. You need to come up with whatever techniques you like, in a sense. Is it a workshop you do with stakeholders to help them prioritize and then you work with something? Or is it more like you have a conversation with other coaches and then you decide what is it that you propose to work with? Or do you go to someone else? Or, yeah, there's a lot less clarity than when you go to a team and you see, they, they, they are lost with this. So this is something I want to focus on.
Why
Uh,
do you think there's a difference in clarity? What is the difference between those improvement areas?
Maybe it's the idea that, and I'm improvising this very much right now.
Good.
Maybe it's how the team is. The boundaries are very well,
Mm.
um, understood in a sense. These are specific people, usually working on something specific area of code or whatever it is. This thing that you have, and then you're trying to improve this specifically. Those few people, their interactions, their thing, their scope of responsibility. And as you move up, working with more teams, more stakeholders, more everything, a lot of things are even more entangled and it's more and more confusing. My experience, again, you more and more work with the complexity
Oh
instead
yes.
of things that are a bit more easy to figure out what can be improved.
So
It's not so easy.
complexity, you say.
Yeah.
Why is it more complex when you work in the teams of teams than one working with one team?
More connection nodes, more
Ah,
more things that you try to do something and you don't really know what's the outcome gonna be, or it's different than you expected, or you do something, you do something super small and it turns out to have a huge impact that you
So,
never foreseen. And I think this is multiplied by the amount of people
mm,
that you are interacting with. In a team, it's much smaller.
so it's easier for a coach in a team to be more prescriptive, at least in a maybe not so abstract, but more concrete way. Like comparing it with the Scrum guide or the list guide, or like doing stuff. But when you go into the teams of teams and the number of communication nodes, it just explodes because there's so
I
many people and thing. Then the complexity, the system thinking becomes so complex and it's difficult. So that's actually a competence and a ability that a agile coach that is striving for a career should be able to handle.
I imagine.
What kind of do you have an idea of what kind of competences that is? I don't know if you do.
I'm already interested in asking you what do you think?
I
So
actually I actually think the thing we talked about last time talked about rapport, because
yeah,
you said something very interesting, and I could actually completely see myself in that. You go into a stand up with the team, you give you 15 minutes, you come out with a, a backlog of improvement, right? So if I turn that around, and instead of saying I want to come out with improvements, I want to come out with things they are doing well,
yeah,
it kinds of getting a bit more difficult, right? So that might be one of the first steps towards becoming a the next level of a coach, beginning to focus on what is actually working and
yeah,
stimulating that instead of always, which we've been taught, and we are looking at the continuous improvement and so forth, to start to see what is actually working and stimulating things that are working, and in stimulating people to uh, move towards things that are working instead of away from things that are not working.
yeah,
And that leads me to the possibility that if you want to excel in coaching and agile coaching, you need um, the goodwill or the good rapport or the good mirroring with people you're working with, in order for have them their goodwill, in order for you to start helping them for any kind of behavioral change or systematic system thinking change, the systematic change,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
And also have this, that we might fail thinking, like, let's play around, let's try to do this, we might fail, making small experiments, right? Because
yeah,
it's so dangerous to do this. So they must somehow like you. They must think you are a nice person in order to being willing to invest anything that is, it's too dangerous, right?
yeah.
Otherwise, yeah. So there's also a personal side I think you need to.
Definitely, it's uh, I've seen some very different approaches to this from different coaches in a sense. Some like to just go there and say, this is bullshit. It doesn't work. And what do you want to do about it?
How did that
And
apply?
and in my experience, this type of approach does not really work in a longer period of time. People get bored and tired, and they are just tired of this idea that you are pointing out mistakes, and I'm the one who should change that.
Yeah.
But you're not doing any actual work. It's me who gets asked about when things will be done, and you're just tossing cool ideas. But and then there's this relationship. If there's no relationship, then why should I be even listening to you? You know, Usually the coaches are not paying the salary of other people, so it's easier to listen the people who are actually responsible or that they can influence your salary in some way. Um, So that's one thing I was
Yeah, so
thinking
you're also
about.
saying that as a coach, who you have this informal leadership with no authority, right? That makes
Yeah,
it even. It means that it's difficult for you to actually. Uh, I have a view, a mental picture where you have a red balloon and you want to change that form of the balloon. You put your finger in, right? So if you do that as a coach, once you leave the thing, the balloon, once you leave the room, you take your finger with you, right? What happens with the
yeah,
balloon, right?
yeah, yeah,
It's sort of
exactly,
like the
exactly.
mental picture. So you need somebody else to put the finger in, and in order to make and help people to do that, they should be trusting you, right? They should see the reason, or actually they should feel that it's the right thing to do somehow, right?
Yeah, and that's a great point, because that's also something I've seen when I was stepping into someone else's shoes. Someone is leaving, so I'm stepping in. And it's interesting that some people actually have a lot of that mental capacity or something that just makes them very good at pressing the balloon.
Mm,
The thing is that as soon as they leave, the balloon goes back to the original position. You can have someone who is very much like forcing in some way
mm,
all teams to do some specific type of uh, maybe the more concrete I am, the better. Like you can have someone who says we should have only feature teams in that area. So let's focus on having feature teams, and now let's have some specific way of working. And maybe that goes against how people would like to do stuff. But you think it's a right approach, so you are pressing them to do the way you would like to, like you see that it's beneficial for them,
yeah.
and then you leave, and as soon as you leave, it goes back to the original state. uh, and the new person might come, and they might have a bit different opinion about how things should be done, and they might press it a bit differently. So this is interesting conversation also about how to change, how to make the change, how to turn the change into some type of an institution. In a sense, it's not only related to the person in a leadership role who is pressing the balloon. It's part of how the balloon looks like.
Yeah,
Um,
you're talking a bit into, as I hear it. I'm not sure you've thought this push pull effect on change, right? Sometimes you need to push in order for people to see there's a need for a change, because the awareness or the willingness to go that extra mile, because it is very hard and very counterintuitive for many people to do extra stuff for change when we are where we are and we are good and and everything is nice right here, right? So you might not want to push a bit, but on the other hand, if you push and that's the only thing you do, then you get into a situation where when you don't push anymore, the balloon go back to normal. You haven't changed anything.